Lastly, we've kind of touched on the whole stolen base. It's coming back. They're increasing the base size. And honestly, this isn't going to change the game that much. But basically, they used to be 15-inch squares, but now they'll be 18-inch squares. Home plate, it obviously stays the same. It's a plate. Um, it's going to have a small impact on stolen base success rate, but the goal of it's to give more room for players to operate and avoid like those finger smushing, knee destroying collisions. And it also eliminates a fielder's leg blocking the full base. And I'd like that. I don't like when a fielder can just block a base entirely. Do you guys like this?
That's a point that I haven't thought about yet. Because I didn't think it was that significant of a change. But yes, I think blocking a base is kind of an aspect of defense that will be changed pretty significantly by this move. So I mean, man, I'm just trying to think. What are those situations looking like? Is it the pickoff moves? Is it like a close play at third, or what?
What do you
Stolen
mean?
bases, pickoff
Like
moves, like
while yeah,
blocking
while
base.
blocking bases.
Oh, like sliding into third when going for a
Yeah.
triple,
Yeah.
stealing second. Yeah. And on the note of stealing second, right? Think about the bang bang plays last year, like where they were 2 inches from being safe. Right now they're safe. Like it gets rid of like the complete bang bang play of last year, and now there's gonna be a whole new type of it where some bang bang plays last year are now stolen bases, and that's gonna overall boost again stolen bases, which again is good for baseball.
I was gonna ask, what do you think the uh difference? Because 3 inches is a lot, but I, like running from like home to first, what's the like? What do you think the speed difference is gonna be?
It won't
You don't
because
think it'll be
the
that
the
big?
front of the base will be at 90 feet. It's the base is
Okay,
like
it's
so
backwards.
yeah. So
Yeah.
like
Okay.
if
Yeah.
this piece of paper
Yeah.
is the base and this is the baseline,
Yeah.
the base is
It's just
growing
yeah, it's just
this
growing,
way.
yeah. But like
Yeah.
plays at second will be more, I feel
They'll be a little
like
bit
it more,
closer.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, so again, I love stolen bases. Like Ricky Henderson was like extremely fun to watch, and I think this will really help guys like Trey Turner or players of that caliber that are just speed threats. Um, and I do like it from the aspect that like, because like there was I feel like I don't know the stat on this, but I feel like there's a lot of like increase in like injuries at first base and stuff like that. So I think that's really gonna help. My big thing with this is like, how is it? Because like a lot of the players have been hitting like some of the middle of first base and stuff like that, hadn't have been overextending their leg like Harper did back I think in 2018 or something like that. Um, so I think do you guys think that's gonna help them from that aspect too?
I don't think it's going to help him from stepping in the middle of the base. I think
Yeah.
that was
Well,
just poor
yeah.
base running. But I think it's going to help with like the collisions, the blocking of bases, getting people getting spiked.
I I was
I
gonna
think
say I think it helps the first base, it helps the first base, first baseman's health more than, I feel like base running.
yeah, also on the note of first base, you have those situations where a first baseman's foot, they're going for a ball and it ends up in the middle of the base and the runner steps on their heel. It gives more space to prevent that from happening now. I think
Yeah.
that's really important for the safety of the first baseman and obviously the runner. It like if it goes in the other direction. But something I'm thinking of right now, right? Because think about it, first base is going to be a little bit closer to second base, and in that exchange, and closer to the second baseman, shortstop, and third base. Bang bang plays once again actually will now go in favor of the fielders because the times when the ball was 2 inches away from the first baseman's glove last year, it's now in the glove. So people with better arms and even a little bit worse arms, actually, the people with worse arms are getting a little bit more rewarded because they're going to have a little bit more time for error on their throws. Because even if they're not traveling as fast, the distance is slightly shorter, and that can make a real difference in some people's throwing ability.
So there's a 4.5 inch reduction between first and second and third, right? So if do you think there's gonna, I know you kind of spoke on this a little bit earlier. Do you think there will be more stolen bases like happening?
Yes.
like
I think so.
especially with like this, like the slower, people obviously who don't have elite speed but have the speed that they couldn't really steal that many last year. Like stolen bases will be up a lot this coming up year.
I
I
think it
don't
has
know
less to do.
about this season. I think over time we'll see an increase within the next couple of seasons. I don't think they're going to be astronomically different from last year and coming into this year, but I think going to like from this year to next year and the following year, like you'll see a steady rise over time.
Yeah, and I think there are plenty of players capable of stealing bases at an elite level too. It's more of just how teams and ball clubs want to approach this. There are teams like the Marlins who are very happy to steal bases. And then there are other teams that don't steal at all. So it's kind of dependent on whether the ball club actually wants to steal bags. And I think with the new change, I think we're going to see a lot more of that. But I think it's less of a problem of the players having the talent to steal bases and more of the organization not wanting to steal in the first place.
I agree with that point. And to answer Aiden's question, I think it's going to be a lot of the people who are already getting stolen bases are going to get more stolen bases. And I don't think like I could see the casual base runner getting a few more stolen bases than normal, like the smart base runners, but I still don't think the slow base runners are going to be stealing bases.
Well, yeah, obviously, you're not gonna see, the catcher, steal 30 bases. It's not, I mean, I'm not saying it's gonna be like a 2 foot difference, it's still gonna be
No, no,
hard to
no.
steal, but
That's not what I'm taking what you're saying as. I'm saying
yeah.
that the 15 stolen base stealer in 2022 is going to steal 20 next season.
Yeah.
I'm also on Tom's point with the Marlins taking a lot of bases. I think this is really going to give a new strategy to worse offenses because the stolen base opportunity is a little bit more prevalent. So a team like the Marlins, who may struggle in the slugging department, are going to be able to get that runner from first to second a little bit easier. And hopefully, if they're putting the ball in play, have that opportunity to drive those runs in a situation where they wouldn't really be able to drive people in from first base.
Yeah, I like that point. Honestly, when I think of the best slugging teams in baseball, you kind of think like the Yankees, the Dodgers. They aren't necessarily the fastest lineups out there. So maybe this was an attempt to kind of balance, do you think? Do you think it was an adjustment to
Yeah.
baseball in general?
I don't think it was trying to. I don't think the goal of decreasing the size of the bases was anything other than improving safety.
Yeah.
I think a consequence of it is that there might be a little bit more of offensive balance across the league. I don't think at any point they would be trying to balance the playing field of offense for teams, especially those that are taking.
Yeah, and I think the league didn't really think about the offenses balancing. Like I don't really think that was like a negative. You bring up the safety problem, that they have now hopefully fixed. And I don't think, somebody said, okay, well now we're balancing it out, and that was a negative. I think that's almost like I guess you could say a positive. So it's kind of like two positives, but like Brad said, the main thing here they have fixed. Hopefully. I mean, we have to see this season, but based off all the rules, it should, be fixed.
And
This
so,
might
like,
just be killing two. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, looking at last year, right? Like, you wouldn't consider Miami to be power hitters. You wouldn't be considering Cleveland to be power hitters. You wouldn't consider the Cubs or the Diamondbacks or the Royals. Those were 2 through 6 or 2 through 5 because there's 2 5s. Those were two of the top 6 teams in the league in stolen bases. These aren't the power hitting teams, and they stole bases to work on their offense. Obviously, for some of these teams, it didn't really improve their ability to win games, but it's still an attempt at increasing their offense, which is exactly what they would need. Okay.
Brad, I'm sorry, man.
Tom, that was for you.
No, Brad. So what happened was I texted saying I'm sorry, Brad, but it was a direct message to Stebbs, and I was like, fuck, I sent it to the wrong person. And then I said I was just to Stebbs, and then there's an awkward silence. Brad, I'm so sorry, man. You made good
You're
points
good.
though. We just keep talking over each other. We're because like we're actually making very solid points and having a good discussion. It's just
Yeah,
we're struggling
the
with the
chat
thing.
box.
No
Yeah.
one cares about the chat box. Chat
Yeah.
box bad.
All right. So, Brad, what was your final thing? You said that's gonna allow the lower teams.
It didn't really, for some teams it helped, some teams it didn't.
Yeah, I think it just depends how you build your team up. And it might be a coincidence that the bottom few teams are speedy teams. They're very fast. But at the same time, with that power and slugging, you do get bigger and you do get slower probably. So maybe this is a bit of a like killing two birds with one stone type thing because you're increasing the safety while also trying to balance out the game.
I think there's still an argument for the power hitter stealing bases because look at the bottom five, right? Boston, San Diego, Detroit, Colorado, and Minnesota. Those weren't they weren't huge sluggers, maybe outside of Boston. And San Diego, like you think there's going to be some speed on a team like that, but it just shows that it's not in their style of play. But Colorado, Detroit, and Minnesota, they were a lot smaller overall and less power hitting as a team, and they weren't stealing bases as much. But a team like the Yankees, who led the league, the Dodgers, who are always up there, they're seventh and ninth respectively. I don't think you can point at a team and be like, you have power hitters, you're not going to steal bases. You have small players with less power, they're going to steal bases. I think there's going to be variety, and I think that's why having a diverse roster is going to be a lot more beneficial today than in 2022.
I think that's good for baseball in general. So I do like that point.
I think overall, all of these changes are good for baseball. It's just whether like the old heads are really going to be upset about it because they're changing the game too much and stuff like
But
that. I think from a marketing perspective, they are good for baseball.
I hate to say it right now, the MLB is not looking at the old heads.
Yeah, they're not. Which
You
is
know,
the point
yeah,
of this.
exactly. Yeah, they're just trying, trying to get the youth involved, and I think everything that they did will help the youth and help the game of baseball right now. And I think every single move that they've done has been a success so far.
Exactly.
Evolution is crucial to growing sports and in general. I think the game, any sport, it evolves over time. If it stayed the same, you would lose your fan base. So the game of baseball evolving with the age evolving now is going to be good for baseball, and the adjustments that we're making are going to be beneficial, I think.
I agree. Obviously, you want to stay with the times with the media, and every attempt that baseball makes to grow with the media and with how we receive information and watch as fans is important for its growth. We want baseball to grow because we love baseball. Thank you all for listening to the 4A podcast. We'll be back next week with 2 new episodes. If you want to interact with us at all, be sure to follow us on Twitter or TikTok. We will also be uploading shorts from this episode to our YouTube page. All social media links are down below. If you've enjoyed, please consider leaving a rating, or if you have any suggestions, share this with a friend. We will see you all next time on the 4A Baseball Podcast. Peace.